Sometimes it's just easier living the lie. We watched Catch Me If You Can for the ReBotchables. Mike Hilsenrath alongside Andy Shields and Mark Susko as always.
Starting with quotes now, huh?
Kind of sums up the whole movie, does it not?
It's a good one.
Tom Hanks, Leonardo DiCaprio, Christopher Walken, Steven Spielberg. Quite the combination of players. Just like the definition of a movie that when it's on TV, as long as it's at the part where he started getting airline outfits made, I'm in till the end. And there's no way out. There's no way out. Even if it has commercials.
So if you come in during the abortion scene, you're probably not going to stick with it, or is it too late by then?
No, I think I'm still in.
Okay. 3 minutes in, we're already going there. Jesus.
This movie was released on Christmas Day 2002, which I thought was kind of cool. All the Christmas overtones in the movie. The phone calls between Frank Abagnale Jr. and Carl Hanratty. Budget was $52 million, made $352 million worldwide. Pretty damn good. It was the 11th highest grossing film of 2002, which was the year of the sequel. Lord of the Rings 2 was number 1, Harry Potter 2, Spider-Man 1 with Tobey, Attack of the Clones, Men in Black 2, Die Another Day, all movies that gross more than this.
Wow.
Movies that this beat out, Chicago, which won Best Picture that year, The Ring, 8 Mile, The Bourne Identity, Gangs of New York, and Road to Perdition. So interesting that Hanks and Leo also had 2 other big projects come out pretty much right before this.
I can't believe Chicago won Best Picture this year. I'm not saying Catch Me If You Can deserved it, but just in retrospect, that's shocking.
What was nominated this year? Do we have that?
It was The Pianist.
The Pianist was big. Yeah.
Gangs of New York and Lord of the Rings. I think there's a couple others, but those are the
Lord of the Rings was up. The Two Towers didn't win.
This was Two Towers, not Return of the King, because Return of the
King won. Yeah.
Yeah.
Two Towers movie
better. Way better.
Yeah. This movie was nominated for 2 Oscars. John Williams, Best Original Score, and Christopher Walken, Best Supporting Actor, which I wholeheartedly agree with. He won the SAG Award for this movie, and he won the BAFTA, which is the British Academy Awards. So nice to see him get recognized, because I really think he's awesome in this movie.
What do you guys consider like the second tier after the Oscars in terms of like prestige, like one award for, I don't know, Gold Globe or one of the ones you just talked about? What do you guys consider like the second tier award?
The SAG Awards, right? The SAG Awards are the ones that everybody wants to win.
Because that's your peers.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
The Globes are a joke because it's the Hollywood Foreign Press, which is basically just like other countries like getting excited to like interview you.
And it seems like corrupt as hell, right?
Yes.
The Kids' Choice Awards, like little brother of the Oscars.
Yeah. I think the BAFTAs are actually
coming in last.
Yeah.
I think the British Academy Awards are taken pretty seriously. I think that's like considered a big thing. Yeah. And he lost to Chris Cooper for adaptation in the Oscars. So
Ouch.
I don't know. That movie hasn't really aged that well either. That was Nick Cage.
Brutal.
Who was also nominated for an Oscar. I don't know. I would have given
Thinking about the movies that got nominated, I don't know how this one did for Best Picture.
I would give Gangs of New York. I thought that movie was phenomenal.
But Chicago and The Pianist?
I agree.
It's better than both of those.
When's the last time you watched Chicago?
I've never seen it, and I don't plan on seeing it.
Yeah, week before, never. That movie was brutal.
It got like one of the most nominations ever at the time, I believe.
Is that just pull up it was because it was the year of the sequel? Like all the good movies that came out were all movies that don't count for Oscars?
Yeah, so Best Picture was Chicago, which won, Lord of the Rings, Two Towers, The Pianist, Gangs of New York, and The Hours.
Oh.
It's a terrible crowd.
That is a hard 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
That's rough.
And the directors Spielberg didn't get. All 4 of those movies got it, except some movie named Talk to Her got nominated for Best Director. Pedro Almodovar. Ugh.
I think the next edition should just have 5 minutes of Mike pronouncing foreign directors' names.
Alexander Inarritu. But we are 4 for 4. Roger Ebert for the 4th movie in a row. 3 stars.
Of course.
He called Leo breezing and charming. He said this is not a major Spielberg film, although it is an effortlessly watchable one, which I agree with. It's probably true that most people will take you at face value until they have reason to do otherwise. The other poignant thing I thought he wrote was, he says, Frank Jr. doesn't seem to plan his cons very well, but rather takes advantage of opportunities that fall his way very quickly. Which, like, I think I was more maybe picking nits in his cons before I read that, and then maybe that's the point of the movie. So,
yeah, there's a combination of both of those things, right? He's got plans, but he takes advantage of people who seem vulnerable in the moment.
Yeah. I just want to run down things he did between the ages of 16 and 19, because it's ridiculous, and they kind of show it in that game show at the beginning. But before his 19th birthday, this is real. He cashed $4 million in fraudulent checks in 26 countries in all 50 states. He was a pilot for Pan Am from 1964 to 1967, flying 2 million miles for free. He was the chief resident.
Was he actually piloting any of these planes, or was he co-piloting?
I'll get to that later.
Okay.
Deadheading.
Okay, sorry.
He was deadheading.
Only deadheading. All right.
He was the overnight chief resident pediatrician at a Georgia hospital and the assistant attorney general in Louisiana before his 19th birthday.
It's crazy.
I got a lot of questions about this in picking nits, but not about the movie, about people around him.
Yeah. So the movie opens after the credits sequence with that game show, To Tell the Truth. Mm-hmm. This is a real game show. You can watch it on YouTube and type in this game show with Frank Abagnale Jr. You can watch the episode that he's on. And it's basically a show where celebrities try and pick out who the real person is.
Yeah.
So they have him and 2 other imposters, like, all describing what he did. And then the only celebrity I recognized was Nipsey Russell. And no one got it right.
Nice.
Yes, like Nipsey Hussle.
I've seen the game show before. It's actually kind of entertaining to watch.
I watched the entire thing last night. It was only like there's two like parts per episode, so it was like 12 minutes of the Frank Jr. part, and then he like goes into some detail describing like some of the stuff that happened. It's pretty crazy.
So I didn't realize it was actually a game show about him, though. Like, he was like, Frank Abagnale was actually on it.
Yes, I thought it was because I never get to see the beginning of this movie, so I've probably only seen that part like a few times.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is pretty cheesy. But then when I found out it was real, I was like, oh, that's much cooler.
I also found out that it was real after watching it, and upon rewatch, I was like, this makes sense that it's real, because otherwise, if they just threw this made-up game show in the opening scene of the movie and then never dressed it again, it would make no sense.
Yes.
But cool. Like, golden age of game shows. You could do anything in the
you really could. And they just like have celebrities on the stage like smoking cigs too, which is always great. And
just
like
lit up on
why don't they allow that now? Like, if somebody goes on Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon, why can't you have a whiskey and a cigarette?
I just don't think there's enough cool celebrities who would like be real like they used to back then.
Too polished now.
Anytime someone does something outrageous on a late night talk show, it's the storyline for 3 months. Like when Joaquin Phoenix came out and was like openly dismissive to
put the bubble gum underneath the table.
Yeah, like everyone considered him an asshole. Like you have to be like picture perfect every time you go on to one of those.
But it got him a ton of press, even though it's negative. I mean,
Either way, would recommend checking this out on YouTube. It's like it's a fascinating watch. And to see like the real Frank as like I think this was filmed in 1977, so he's probably in his late 20s around this time. You get to see like he's a suave looking guy.
27 when this was filmed, right?
I'm sorry, who?
Leo? Oh, who am I?
I'm talking about the real Frank because if he was 19, we're saying he's 19 in 1967, so this was filmed in 1977, the game show. Names he used in the movies: Frank Taylor, Barry Allen was his Secret Service name, Ian Fleming when he was getting the Bond suits,
Mr. Fleming,
Dr. Frank Connors, then Attorney Frank Connors, and then he references using the name Frank Black as an alias at hotels. I don't know if you guys picked up on any other names that he used, but those were the 6 things.
Fleming
Taylor,
Mr. Fleming
Frank
is
Taylor, right?
Mr. Fleming is the creator of James Bond when he's watching the Bond movie.
Yes.
And then Frank Connors is I think, isn't that a Spider-Man villains?
They're all the names in this movie are loosely comic book names. So Barry Allen's the Flash.
Yeah, right.
That's how And then you're right. Frank Connors is like a Spider-Man villain. Frank Black, I think, is the Punisher.
Oh yeah.
And Frank Taylor, I googled it. It's like some like random villain in something, but they all have a comic book base, which I thought was pretty cool.
What lame names for these comic books? Who the heck?
Stan Lee's sitting there's like, oh, I guess we need another Frank in these.
John Smith, villain.
But yeah, I just think it's just a super easy watch once it gets going. Like Spielberg, it's just easy to watch these guys on screen.
Yeah, I mean, my takeaway was like it has everything you would want in a rewatchable like movie. It has great cast. The pace is great. Like the scenes don't drag out way long. The soundtrack and score are fantastic. And just like those 4 things together, I think just make it a very rewatchable movie. It might not be the best movie ever, but it's just easy to just flip on and kind of watch it at any time.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't like after seeing it again, I didn't think it would it didn't blow me away. Like it wasn't the greatest movie I've ever seen, but if I saw it on TV, I would not change the channel. There wouldn't be a better option for me. So it's just flies. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes and it feels like a half an hour show. It's one of my least favorite Tom Hanks performances of all time. Like I think this is one of his worst performances, and he's so easy to watch. You just want more of him. And Leo is absolutely electric in everything that he does, and he's throughout most of the movie surrounded by a young actress who is about to be a giant movie star.
Yeah, that's really cool part of the movie too.
The cast in retrospect is incredible. It's amazing.
Yeah, and then you get.
Well, I got a lot of problems with those scenes, but we'll talk about it.
All right, let's do most rewatchable scene because I picked a lot here because it was hard. In a 2 hour and 20 minute movie, you can't narrow it down to 5.
Always hard for you to pick one scene.
How many do you have now?
I have 9.
Jesus.
But I'm actually adhering to like scenes, whereas the past I would blend scenes together. Like,
okay,
this is like scenes.
3.
Okay. First is it's also just a good way to talk about the movie. First is Frank's first con as a substitute teacher at the new school, when he just like takes command of the room, like writes his name. It's Abagnale, not Abagnale, not Abagnale. It's Frank Abagnale, and he just absolutely humiliates that big fat kid who was bullying him around.
Folks, take your seats.
Chapter 7.
Open at chapter 8.
And like he does it for a week, and like they say the principal's like he held a parent-teacher conference and planned a trip to a French bread factory in Trenton.
Amazing.
I love you get that little scene with him in the principal's office where he tells that girl that she's got to fold the fake note. Like, where's the crease? Your mom wouldn't give you a note. You got to put it in your pocket. And
Great
then,
point. Yes,
like Christopher Walken is just smirk when they just like walk out of there laughing. I love, because you're not sure how he's going to react, but then you realize like, oh, he's really proud of his son for pulling this off, which I thought was cool.
That's also a really cool foreshadowing moment to him actually helping the FBI find counterfeit checks. Like you know that he's got the ability to do that, like the innate ability to do this right off the bat. And he's not conning anyone, but he spots someone who's trying to do it, which will then make him even better at conning other people.
My next scene is where Frank finally figures out that he wants to do the pilot thing, like seeing the suit in the mirror after his failed attempts to try and get those checks cashed. Just like when he first gets like, he's so stupid. He's like, oh, who cashes checks at the airport? And the guy's like, oh, the airlines always take one of their own. Like, are you my deadhead to Miami? He was just at the airport to get a check cashed. And the next thing he knows, he's on a plane. Like, he doesn't know anything. He just kind of just like figures it out on his own. And then like, just like listening to people, like when he finally gets into that cockpit, I love when he's like, I got a 707, but I'm jumping puddles for the next few months to earn my keep, running leapfrogs for the weak and weary. Like, he's so smooth and great.
It's that innate ability to just pick up on things that are going on around you in a social setting, learn a couple of phrases, and act like you belong.
Yes,
totally.
And then we first meet Ellen Pompeo, who looks fantastic in this movie. Like better than Old School. And even though Old School's like a year later, she looks so much younger in this than compared to like 1 year later in Old School. And I guess you could include, like, it's kind of intertwined with the Elizabeth Banks, where he's just like walking down the line of the bank, like, who am I getting? Who am I getting? Who am I getting? And then finally gets her to like divulge all the secrets about checks. Pilot's making $1,400 a month plus benefits. Pretty good. It's like $11,000 a month today.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The air travel, man. Pilots were the thing to be.
Yes. I love that he orders milk on the plane too, in the cockpit. Like Spielberg just like constantly reminds you that he's a child the entire movie, which I love.
You got to anchor his character at this point in the movie. You have to give little reminders that he's still a burgeoning superstar.
Yes. My next scene is one of my favorites, is where he takes his dad to lunch at the fancy restaurant. It's just like a great freaking walk-in performance. Like, yeah, he's just like bringing it so hard in that scene. And they're just like awesome together. You would never think that like Leo and Christopher Walken would have this much chemistry. And I do think Leo and Hanks have a lot of good chemistry too. It's a terrible Hanks role, so it's hard to see. I would love to see them make a movie together.
Yeah.
Chilled salad fork.
Yeah, it's a fancy restaurant, Dad. And he's just like, Frank, I took the train here. Taking the train home.
My son bought me a Cadillac today.
This calls for a toast.
Calls for a toast.
He just like always has like the best little sayings that like no one uses. Like he'll be like, "It's all about timing, Frank. The government knows when to take you down." Like,
just the cadence of his voice is just fantastic too. There's nobody like him.
Like I think if you were to play the game of another actor reads Christopher Walken's lines, like it would be fine. There wouldn't be anything special.
No,
totally.
And this is probably the most like subdued Walken performances.
Yes,
I read he improvised the speech that he gives at that club when he's like, or when he met his wife. When he's talking about when he met his wife.
That's
in front of like 200 men. Oh, sorry. This scene. Yeah, none of the club.
Well, he tells it once at home when he's dancing with the wife, and then he tells it again here. Here it's his best one because he tears up while he's telling it, and he's like, it's like. He's awesome in this scene. And then he whispers to Frank, the rest of us are the ones who are really the suckers. So like, he knows that like something's up already. He doesn't think that like his son's a pilot. Because he knows he's only 16 years old.
This was in My Unanswerables. So I think this is one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie. It's gorgeous where he asks him, "Where are you going, Frank?" And He's like, where are you going? He asks him a couple of times, like, where are you going? And I don't think he's asking him, where is he going? I think he's trying to get Frank Jr. to tell him either what's going on or at least reflect on, like, what are you doing here? What are you doing? And then he knows that he's got to know that something's up because he whispers in his ear, like, the rest of us are really the suckers.
Yeah.
Which is like, we know that you're conning us. I don't even know. I don't know how to say this, but like, is he giving Leo advice about conning people, or is he just like, I know what you're up to? And
I think it's both. I mean, and that's where he's like, look around, Frank. They're all staring at you like you're a pilot.
Yeah.
Where you going? Where you going?
He's so like fed up with how his own life turned out. I think he's just like, he's like prideful in what his son's doing, even though he knows it's wrong. Because at the beginning, you see him like, he tries to be this guy and it doesn't work out for him. He tries to get the bank to give him the loan. He like tries to sell that shitty apartment to the wife, being like, it'll be less work for you. And like, it just doesn't work out for him in this world.
He gets the suit. He gets the woman to open the suit store, but he can't get past that. And I think he's proud of what his son has done to an extent in conning people, like taking the reins of something that he couldn't do himself. But I don't know. It's if Spielberg did this on purpose, I'm glad he did it on purpose because I don't know what to make of that scene, and I love every second of it.
I do think it's the first time where you realize that, like, or at least I take away on the rewatch, which I never really did as a kid, probably just because I didn't understand it, but like, half of his motivation, Frank Jr., is to get his parents back together. Everything he's doing, like,
yeah,
he gets in the Cadillac and he's like, maybe you can ride this over to mom and take her for a joyride. Like, and he's like, have you called mom? He's always like, have you called mom? Has she seen you? Like, what's going on with mom? And then like up until when Christopher Walken tells him that she married the Jack Barnes, like that's his whole motivation this entire movie.
I think that's that. I don't think it's his whole motivation. I feel like it's definitely a big percentage, but I feel like the other percentage is like trying to get back the money that the government stole from his father, and he's trying to make up for that and kind of replenish what his father lost to the government.
But he's doing that like in my other rewatchable scene. I think like when that's the second time he goes to meet him at the bar. He's like, I'm going to get it all back for us, everything they took from us. But then we can be a family again, he says. Like, I got 2 first-class tickets to my wedding. Like, you're going to come with mom. Has she seen, I got all these suits I'm going to get you. You're going to look so sharp. She's going to love you. And then that's when he's finally like, look, she doesn't want to see me. She's married. And then
his overarching
Leo,
goal is definitely to get the family back together, for sure.
But then Leo, like Frank kind of loses it after he hears that. Like, then he really goes into the tailspin.
Yep.
So, right. But this first scene of them together is like, if this scene is on, it's incredible. And you get the 2 mice speech again, like, even though it's just brief.
I'm the second.
With 2 mice.
My next scene is when he cons Hanratty in Atlanta, when he's about to catch him, and he's like, "You're late.
I think that's in L.A., not Atlanta.
Yeah, L.A. County.
L.A.
He's in Hollywood.
Yeah. U.S. Secret Service. You think we're not on this? He's been dabbling in government checks, like, so quick. But then, like, so nervous at the same time, and he's like, "Hey, Murph, call the LAPD again. I don't want my people walking through this crime scene." And then he blows on his hands, and he gives that, like, the look
that he gives after yelling out the window is unbelievable. It's so good.
And you just see that, like, in the beginning, like, Hanks has never really, like, done anything like this. Hanratty's never been in, like, a bust situation. So, like, he's so amped up and he, like, FBI! that, like, you know he's going to get taken because he's just way too juiced up about the entire thing that he'd believe anything.
And I guess Hanks makes sense in this role because he's like the nice guy FBI agent who's in charge of bank fraud. He's not going after hardened criminals. He's doing white collar. And so he's got those thick black rimmed glasses. He's kind of goofy, a little bit clumsy. And like that scene is so good because he's not sure what to do. He's not used to busting people. And then the look that Leo gives after he yells at the guy, like, call the LAPD, he gives a look like, I can't believe I made it this far through this already.
Yeah.
How is this still working?
So this is loosely based on a true story. The real Frank said he was once stopped walking into his backyard by two cops, and they were like, freeze. And he said, whoa, FBI, I got this. You guys go around front and take that way. And then he ran away. So
Wow.
like,
That's the improvisation is just incredible.
I also just like the little thing. I love that Hanks tells the fat guy, if you're on your best behavior, I'll get you a good humor bar. And then in the next scene, he's chowing down on a good humor bar. Just a nice
What's
little
that
touch.
guy's name? Andrusky?
Earl Andrubsky?
Andrusky?
Something like that. It's a hard name to say.
That guy is one of the worst cops in movie history. He is terrible at his job.
Terrible. My next scene's a quick one. It's just the Jennifer Garner scene because there's no way I'm not watching it if it's on. I don't know if she's ever looked better. It's like just fantastic, Jennifer Garner. And she's great. Like
she looks good. I don't think she looks like amazing. I mean, I think she plays the part that she plays is like very sexy and seductive, like the way she talks and go fish. Yeah.
Go fish is good.
I wouldn't say she looks amazing though.
She looks good.
Yeah.
And then that's juxtaposed with Hanks sitting at the laundromat, ruining all his shirts.
Yeah.
It's a great sequence.
We can fly by that one. I just love that scene. My next one is another quick one. Just Leo as a doctor. They kind of blow through that pretty quickly, but I love his like commanding presence in the line with all the doctors and nurses, and then the why didn't I concur?
Yeah, and there's something really cool that happens in that scene too, that I think is more of it's like an overarching theme in the movie where Amy Adams asks him, he asks, "Are you hiring?" Like he just in the moment is bored of what he's doing or like needs something else. And what's her name? Brenda Strong.
Yes,
the Braless Wonder. Isn't that the actress that plays the Braless Wonder?
I think
she
so.
She asks him. She doesn't ask him like what is your job? Like what are you applying for? She asks him, "What do you want to do?" Which I think it's really subtle, but it's a nice touch on like letting Frank openly into the audience decide what his next play is going to be. Because that's not a question you get asked after saying, "Are you guys hiring?" Because they're like, well, we know the positions that we have open. Like, are you applying for this position, this position? He's like, what do you want to do? It was really cool.
I also like just the child thing. Like, he's clearly like, obviously the one woman he's attracted to the most is the girl who has braces and like is an orphan herself, kind of getting kicked out of the house.
Right.
And when she finally gets the braces off, I think she's great in that scene. Apparently Spielberg told her to pretend like she was starving to death and eating a cheeseburger when she like makes out and like starts licking his face like a crazy person.
Oh my God.
I think this is her first like real role though.
Yeah.
Anything, right?
It's definitely her breakout role for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She had been in a ton of like little shows. I think she was on Friends once, but definitely her first big Hollywood movie.
I mean, now she's probably like what, top 10 A-lister?
Totally.
Amy Adams.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Oscar nominee. She's like, I've got season tickets for Amy Adams now.
Yeah.
Totally.
All right, a couple more quick ones we can blow through. Just I love the Eclair scene on the plane. That's the first time he asks him, "How'd you pass the ball in Louisiana?" And then I just love the way Hanks like scarfs it all down. He's like, "I'll figure it out sooner or later."
I'm gonna figure out sooner or later.
I just think it's weird, and you see it in this scene. Like, when is Hanks ever like overpowered by people on the screen? But I think he is. Like, I'm so much more like gravitating towards Leo anytime the two of them are on the screen together. And I feel like that's pretty rare for a Tom Hanks movie where he's like not the star.
When you say gravitating,
Like
you're just kind of drawn to the character
Leo.
or what he's.
Leo's.
Okay,
Leo's like whatever Leo's doing is more interesting than anything that Hanratty's doing, aside from this one scene where he's like shoving that thing in his mouth.
I think that shows that Hanks is able to let someone else have the spotlight, right?
Yeah,
he does it.
You just rarely see it.
He does it a little bit in Philadelphia with Denzel. He lets Denzel take over a little bit with like these young budding actors. I mean, Leo's not a young budding actor at this point. Like Titanic he's one of the biggest movie stars on the planet at this point in time. But it's also like everything that Abagnale does in this movie is more glamorous and more interesting than everything that Hanratty does. So it makes sense. Like if Hanks is blowing him off the screen at this point, you're like, well, why don't you have a better job?
No, I think the glasses, the hat, like the schlubby outfits help that effect. I even think that the accent, as much as I hate it, like helps that too, because it makes me think it's not Hanks. Like, because Hanks is he's always like such a Hanks in his roles, but not this one. He's really not. It always comes through to a certain extent in all his roles. Like maybe at the end it does. I think with like taking the fatherly kind of role towards at the end, maybe that's like the Hanks that bleeds through. But like for the first part of this movie, it's so unlike a Hanks role. Like a guy who's not that good at his job, getting reamed out by his bosses. Like
he's much more in costume. Like you said, he's wearing a hat, he's got glasses, he's got this accent. It's like he's just a completely transformed person.
Yeah,
you don't even realize it's Tom Hanks.
Wait, you think he's really blowing the volleyball off screen in Castle?
He doesn't talk for about 20 minutes in the movie.
Pour one out for Wilson.
Yeah. Then my last one is just I love the final con to get out of Miami. Like just especially the shot of him with the stewardesses and the sunset and Sinatra's playing and like walking through the airport. Just like so genius that he did that, and then pays that driver to hold up the sign, Hanratty spelled incorrectly. That's just like great Spielberg work in that whole scene. Like the scene of him getting out of that car with the stewardess all around him is like so picturesque. I think that's the main poster of the movie, or at least on Amazon Prime. When you click on it, that's what's showing too. So I love that scene.
Yeah, I had that on my list too. It's I think with the Sinatra song playing, it's just great. There's the build up. You don't really know how he's going to get out of this, but you do know he's going to get out of it. And Tom Hanks run into the car. It's great.
I love in movies when they've got Frank Sinatra happy music playing over the top of a crime being committed. Like it's really fun. Like I think Mission Impossible does it in one of their movies. This scene, I called it. It's like it's the switcheroo caper, where he's got all of these like smoke show Pan Am pilots because he knows the FBI guys are like old middle-aged people who are just looking at girls. He knows it's gonna work. He knows he can be in disguise. I think there's a fembot from one of the Austin Powers movies. I think she's one of the Pan Am stewardesses. Like, it's got so much going on, and the idea to get somebody across the street to look like you in the same uniform so that you divert your attention while you get on the plane. Also, shout outs to 1960s, 1970s airport security to make all of this happen.
Yes. Yeah. Even the casting scene where he's like picking out the girls that he's like, that's a great scene too. The piano's playing. It's, you don't know why he's picking these people out really. Like what's his really motivation? It's great.
Yeah.
Build up for that.
Again, being opportunistic and using like two of America's most sought after jobs, Pan Am stewardess and commercial airline pilot to it.
Yeah. And using sex as to how you're going to kind of deviate and fool these people.
Yeah.
This you mentioned the music. I think this scene and then the scene where he gets arrested at his mom's house like are the best uses of music in the whole. I just love the way they
what
use
songs
the music.
playing?
I think it's White Christmas, Bing Crosby.
Oh yeah.
And you don't hear the sirens, you don't hear anything else until it's just complete silence until he walks back and he's like, "Get me in the car, Carl. Get me in the car," because he doesn't want like his mom to see him.
That one's yeah. There's also a good Girl from Ipanema.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Yes.
one, I think that it's probably like the top 20 most used songs in movies of all time. Still works.
Yes.
While we're on the topic, and when he's meeting with Jennifer Garner, "The Look of Love" is
Yes.
playing too. That's a great. I thought that's a great choice for a song in that scene too.
Yes. Do you guys have any other scenes? I kind of have the end of the movie, whatever, but I don't need to break down the end of the movie.
I had the. I didn't really, I guess, like define it properly, but it was like the first meeting with Martin Sheen, Brenda's family. Like I just love that whole part where he's sitting at the table. He's like, "Can you say grace, Frank?" He comes up with the two mice speech, and then he like questions him about grumpy old Hollingsworth, the teacher from Berkeley. Like, what happened to that dog? The dog is dead. There's just so much tension, and it's just like this lovely atmosphere, and he's kind of navigating through that. And I love that scene.
Outside of the caper scene with Frank Sinatra, like there's not really that much tension. Like the music lets you know that everything's going to be fine. But outside of the hotel scene in LA, the dinner scene with Martin Sheen is like the second most tense moment in the movie, where he's deep into this lie and now he's got to get his way out of it.
Yeah. That and then when he goes into the office after that and he's like, "Who the hell are you?"
Yeah.
and then he's just like, "You're a romantic," and he's just like, "Ah."
Well, he tells the truth there for like one moment. Martin Sheen's like infatuated with him. It's like, "I'm the same as like you." I propose
so
to
is he telling the truth there?
He is technically, right?
What does he say? He's like, "I'm just a kid." Like, doesn't he
because
say
I'm not
that?
a doctor, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an airline pilot. I'm just a kid who's in love with your daughter. I think he is in love with her.
I had that as an unanswerable question.
Sam.
Okay.
Because
I think it's fair to surmise that though.
Like he's just trying to sleep with her until she says, "I had an abortion. My parents disowned me." And then I think it's more of a problem that he sees in front of him that he thinks needs solving. And he'll do anything he can to take on that challenge and fix it through conning someone. And it's also a cool moment where even if you're that deep in a lie, even when you tell the truth, even when you come clean, people will believe it, right? Like they'll just take you at whatever you say because you've gotten away with it for this long.
Yeah, it's like almost unbelievable if you weren't telling the truth. It's like it's beyond possibility. It's you just gotta convince yourself.
And like
Sheen missing, like, how is this 17-year-old a doctor and a lawyer and a pilot? Come on, guys.
Well, no, the pilot, he's just throwing that in there. He's just throwing the pilot thing in there. I do like that like comparing this scene, Martin Sheen and Leo, to the Departed Martin Sheen and Leo. It's cool to like.
I didn't even think about that.
They're both kind of like similar scenes where he's like grilling him on one like office situation, and that's like the only interactions they kind of have in the movie.
Yeah.
But he's also kind of
another guy from The Departed in this movie too. Yes.
Who?
Fox, Agent Fox, John Michael Hughes.
Yeah.
He's a good sidekick. He's one of the guys who's responsible for going after where Queenan died. And he's like, "Fuck, don't pursue. Yeah. Fuck it, pursue."
Oh, that's the same guy. Wow. Nice pull. I had one other scene, which was just the kind of related, I guess. That's why I wasn't sure if I should lump it together. But the engagement party going into the airport scene, which you kind of touched on. But I really think the engagement party itself is just like a beautifully shot scene. I feel like where it's this beautiful, like wonderful party that's going on. Tom Hanks comes storming in. He goes to the bedroom with Brenda. He's like. He goes on this whole rant. He's like, "I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not not any of those things." And Brenda's like, "You're not a Lutheran?"
Yeah.
This is a great scene. I love that.
I love that that's her main concern out of anything he just told her. Wait, are you saying, Frank, you're not a Lutheran?
From
I
the
like the
girl who had an abortion. Like,
yeah. Yeah, but now she's back in the family. She's got to be all in.
that's right.
And then you get that Spielberg, like the dollar bill comes flying out the bottom of the door too.
The score playing.
Was that supposed to be the feather from Forrest Gump?
I mean, that's what I think of when I see it, but like, he didn't direct Forrest Gump, so I don't know. He has a relationship with
Didn't he?
Zemeckis. No, Zemeckis.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Ian, did you have any other?
No, my three were the lunch, the first meeting in the LA hotel, and the Pan Am switcheroo caper.
Yeah. I don't know what I would choose. I think the lunch. I just love Walken so much in this movie.
Yeah, I'd probably go lunch or the Pan Am scene. I love that. I always get reeled in.
I think the meeting in the hotel is. I think it wins. In my opinion, it wins for most rewatchable. The lunch is my favorite scene. There's a lot.
Let's go lunch then.
Scene.
What's aged the best? My number one is Christopher Walken's performance. He's just like electric every time he's in the movie, and he's not in that many scenes once the movie gets going. He only pops up a couple of times, and then we see him once, and we don't think that's going to be the end, and then he's dead. So, just like the way he moves his hips when he's dancing with the wife is like a little introduction to him, telling a story.
I love that moment too. It's like he's also learning, like Frank Jr. learns from his dad on doing not what is the right thing to do, but what feels good and what is cool. When she spills the wine on the floor, she gets really upset and wants to go clean it up immediately. Yeah. Walken steps in, dances all over that stain, like rubs it deeper into that white carpet and stares down his son and be like, hey kid, this is the fun way to live.
Yeah.
My mom like had a heart attack when watching them not clean up that wine stain. Like any mom, I feel like would.
Yeah. He's so like positive, even when he's kicked down. Like when they have to get rid of the car, he's like, "I can't believe you let them take our car." He's like, "Nah, like they overpaid."
Which is also a nice little foreshadow into like Jennifer Garner's scene. Didn't he say they overpaid by $400?
Yes.
He says he only has a cashier's check for $1,400. They agreed to $1,000.
$400. So, yeah. I didn't put that
even
together.
better.
That's good.
This is even better.
Like every little saying, like they ate the cake, now they want the crumbs. Like who even comes up with this?
Maybe it just sounds good because
people in the 60s and 70s.
The Mickey Mantle thing about like the pin, like why do the Yankees always win? Because of Mickey Mantle. Is like no, because people can't stop staring at their pinstripes.
Tom Hanks is 100% correct on that statement.
And like the one scene he has with Hanks is great too, because I love that he's just like, I'm never gonna give up my son ever, like no matter what. And he just like knows, he doesn't even care how like deep is he in it, and he takes it to the grave, I guess.
So who won Best Supporting Actor? I know we touched on it before.
Chris Cooper. I mean, he's a legend. I love Chris Cooper, but
for what?
Adaptation.
Oh, that's right. Okay. And has Walken won something before?
Walken won for The Deer Hunter in 1978, Best Supporting Actor. Those are his only two nominations.
Yeah.
This would have been a nice cap.
He didn't get nominated for 3 minutes in Pulp Fiction?
No. Didn't get nominated for Old School either. I mean, Wedding Crashers.
Old School.
Wedding Crashers.
Sick.
Or what's aged the best, just like the child of divorce motivation. I love, like, he just, like, runs straight from the thing, and that's it. Like, that's it on his family forever. Like, bye. Apparently, that's real. Real life, the real guy said, I guess it was a courtroom scene when his parents got divorced, and he never saw them again after that. the making up the dad thing was something that Spielberg added to the movie. What did I have notes on?
The only cure was more walking.
I think I read about that too. It was like Spielberg experienced the same thing, right?
Spielberg was a child of divorce too, so this like movie resonated real hard for him. Frank, the real Frank, said, even though I didn't see my dad ever again, every night after living a brilliant day and meeting many women and making money, I'd come back alone to a hotel room and would think of my mom and dad getting back together and cry. So even though he never actually saw his dad again, and like what's age the best is clearly keeping that walking Frank Jr., Frank Sr. relationship going throughout the rest of the movie. Like, it's awesome.
Well, and that's incredibly real too. Like, if you're a child of divorce, like there's a part of you that just wants the family to be together. And there's a turning point in the movie too, where they watch that. They're on the couch at Sheen's house and they're watching that stupid Irish sing-along.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that? First of all,
but
everyone
K-E-double-L-Y.
They're singing that, and like I think that's the turning point where he realizes that he doesn't really want to be a con man anymore because he's found that sense of family that he's not going to get back with his real family.
Yeah, and he goes off on Hanks when they talk. He's like, "Stop chasing me." He's
That's
like
when he
actually
calls
like
him.
legitimately angry.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Good point.
And he sees, I think he sees Martin Sheen and his wife like doing the dishes and swaying too, and he's like glaring at them like. That's right. I think that's right after the stupid sing-along show. I don't know if that's a real show. I guess I should have looked that up.
Mitch is on.
I also like it's not a movie thing to see the son side with the dad over the mom. I don't know.
It's hard to pull off.
He catches his mom cheating on his dad, and then she tries to buy him off. Like, that's got to be fucking terrible.
Yeah. Well, and most of the time, in the defense of this, most of the time it's the dad who's the asshole in the movie.
Yes.
So getting back to Spielberg, I think I read that Spielberg was mad at his dad for divorcing his mom, and then he later found out, maybe 10 years later, that his mom was cheating on his dad in actuality. So that's why he divorced her, even though he was mad at it. So it's kind of the same situation here, but just kind of interesting.
Yes. But because none of this is real, he could have just chosen whichever side he wanted to. It's just interesting that he chose to go for the father-son dynamic. That's all. So, other what's aged the best, the score is awesome. Just John Williams doing John Williams work. It's so good.
It fits the movie perfectly.
Because it's sneaky.
It's so good. A little jazzy, a little sneaky. It's all in minor key. It's not your sweeping, moving, melodic John Williams scores. It's just like it kind of reminds me a little bit like the closest. There's two scores that this reminds me of. It reminds me of Home Alone, like the opening song of Home Alone, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of Jaws. It's just this little like 2-note, 3-note.
That's a good call.
It only comes up like 3 or 4 times in the movie during the opening credits, and then during really tense parts of the movie that involve caper. Like, it's got a little bit of a Jaws feel to it, but it's not the fucking Jaws theme. I'm not saying that.
No,
we're close.
Hey, it's John Williams. You can play all the hits.
The guy's got 38 Oscar nominations.
So he got nominated for this, I'm assuming.
This was nominated. Yes, it did not.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Again, how did it not win? What one? Let's see.
I would like to put another category at some point. All of the scores that beat John Williams scores for Oscars, and we make fun of all of them that are undeserved.
So the
Frida,
best score
Frida one.
Frida.
I've never heard of that.
That's with Selma Hayek.
Like Frida Kahlo.
Yeah.
Okay. I see how that wins an Oscar. I don't know what to say. I haven't listened to this.
never gonna listen to that score anyway. Only other thing I had age the best was just airline pilots in the 60s and 70s compared to how poorly we treat them now. Maybe that's age the worst. Airline pilots have aged the worst, but
the treatment of pilots and stewardesses, or just the word stewardess, is aged the worst.
I would say I don't think we treat them poorly now. I feel like when I am getting off the plane, I always give like a head nod or like a thanks, or I know it's not the same like reverence, but
yeah, I think I meant more like the cachet that like had being a pilot back then did. Like,
yeah,
like one kid like in that first scene when Leo first sees that first pilot walk in with the stewardesses, and that's where he figures out, and he like goes to the hotel guy. He's like, "Well, the tomatoes are ripe today." Like,
yeah,
talking about those girls' asses, and then some kid asks for his autograph. Like,
yeah,
I think that first pilot too, I think, is also like the archetype for where Randy Quaid learns his line from Independence Day, because that pilot goes, he looks at the kid and he goes, "You want to be pilot?"
yeah,
I'm pilot.
I'm pilot. And then I just had con men in general as what's aged the best. Like, and this is like the fact that it's true makes it so much more compelling, even if it's not 100% true. Like that some of this is true is astounding at all.
There's nothing more impressive from a screenplay, dialogue, tension building standpoint in a movie for me than to watch, even though it's scripted, even though everyone who's making the movie knows where it's going, to watch tension resolved by quick thinking and a quick like twist of words in the moment to get out of something. It's amazing.
Yes.
I honestly think like 80% of my knowledge of like checks and bank fraud is like from this movie. Like I didn't know like the routing and how all that worked until I watched this movie.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys knew how that worked.
Check actually means something.
I just never knew like what they actually meant. Like this is like I don't know.
So I had
learned in this movie.
I had checks as what's aged the worst because like
Me
looking back at it, what a stupid technology that we used that was so easily like I guess it wasn't that easy because no one thought of it until this guy, but I'm sure other people were doing it. But like that you could get money and someone wouldn't realize for 2 weeks. Or can I write you a check? Like just a piece of paper that has your signature on it? Like
I was Googling around. Apparently people said it would be easier to do this kind of fraud these days, but it makes more sense to do credit card fraud. I guess it's more lucrative. I don't know. I just did a quick
because nobody's writing checks anymore.
Yeah.
Well, nobody has cash in their bank accounts.
I think
it's all on credit.
So are we still on age the best? Or are we moving to age the worst?
Would you guys have any others?
I did.
Yeah, go read them off, then we'll get back to checks.
I just had like you said conning. I just had explaining the mechanics of how the con works. Like they talk about it a little bit when they're unpacking all of the things that bad criminals at the end of the movie are doing incorrectly that he catches. But the way that they show what he's doing throughout the whole movie without him explaining what he's doing until the end. Yeah. Like the plane in the model plane in the bathtub, they get the Pan Am sticker off of it. Typing, getting the check in a typewriter and hitting the same key 4 or 5 times in a row to get the ink exactly at the same concentration level as it is on regularly written checks. And also like the defamation of religion by con men. Like he presses the first check that he makes inside of the Holy Bible, and then
I wrote that down.
Like, he like fucks with Lutherans by saying grace to con them out of like that. Also aged the best. The interior decorating jobs of New York hotels and banks in the 60s and 70s, really nice. I love those green desk lamps in the banks. I want those all over my apartment.
My dad still has one in his office.
They're all over the New York Public Library too. The main one on Park.
That's true.
The
score.
The one bank is used in like more movies than anything on earth. That one bank in New York. It's like the Dark Knight Bank. It's just like it's so classic.
Oh yeah, that's the same one from the opening scene of The Dark Knight.
Mm-hmm. It's in like 100 movies. It's any movie that has a bank in the
Which
like
one
the
is that?
50s or 60s.
Which one is it?
I don't know. I don't know where it is.
We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out.
The last one I had was after. So on the plane when Frank escapes through the lavatory, I had what's aged the best. People getting annoyed at the people who stand up the minute the plane touches down. Like, sit down, everybody sit down.
Apparently that was also, not to step on my internet research, he did escape a plane while it was taxiing in real life.
That's crazy. I did catch those somebody wearing those like old headphones that you would wear on the airplane that were like, they're like, they start here and then they wrap around.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember.
Oh yeah.
I did catch somebody on the plane wearing those. Nice
It had like that stupid plug where it was
yeah, the two holes.
Yeah.
Classic.
Mark, did you have any age the best?
I just had one other, and I feel like it's something we've said for the other podcasts that we've done. Just life in the 60s. Just look really simple, like everybody dressed up, looking great, like tucked in shirts, kind of, at least in LA, like bright colors. Like, I don't know, I just really appreciate that stuff.
We're really big on period pieces here on the ReBotchables.
What life just seems so much simpler, though, don't you think?
Is Die Hard with a Vengeance a period piece?
I mean, for the 90s, like, we haven't done a single movie that has cell phones. Like, I guess they have a car phone in Die Hard, but that's it. All right, what's age the worst? Let's go back to the checks.
The best or the worst?
The worst.
The worst. Okay.
Do you guys still write a check for rent?
No.
Yes.
Do you, Andy? Okay, me
yes.
too. Yeah. Yeah. I'm touching my checkbook once a month.
Okay. I only
do
use it for wedding gifts. That's it.
Why don't you just give cash?
I don't know. It feels like official to give a check, right? It still does have
yeah.
like some cachet for people our age. Like, it's a check.
You took the time to write something. That's kind of what it's like signaling. Like when you like write a check.
My parents still give me a check. Jenna's grandma still gives us a check. Like, but you rarely. I don't know. I don't. Pay
Yeah,
utilities
there's no
with
other.
checks. I feel like
no
early living in New York, like mid 2000s, I was like paying the gas bill with a check every month.
I think I was too, actually. Tangentially, I love that scene where Tom Hanks goes to the printing press and he talks to those guys who are like experts on like checks, and he's like a Heidelberg.
Yeah.
Those five guys, 100% unemployed today.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's a dying industry.
Wait, can we spend a little bit more time talking about how all of us pay our utility bills?
How do you pay yours?
What's aged the worst? The gullibility, just like the inherent gullibility of all pretty young girls. That's pretty rough. There's a lot. I mean, again, are we calling this a period piece?
Yeah.
Obviously, sexism is a big part of this movie, and there's a lot of it, but it's just rough on young women.
Yes,
I agree. Yeah,
be rough.
That's fair. That's fair.
At least Garner gets the 1,000.
She seems like an entrepreneur. She knows what she's doing.
You know what? Jennifer Garner's performance, I think, has aged poorly. I don't think she's very good. I like the Go Fish is hot. It's extremely sexy. But other than that, like, her career also has aged poorly.
Yeah, I was going to say her career.
Her modeling career aged poorly. She was a model like 6 months ago, and then she's like a high-end prostitute.
Yeah. I had her written down for Apex Mountain.
I was struggling with Apex Mountain. So
that's how bad her career has been, because she was on Alias. She was on Alias at the time of this movie, and Alias was probably the biggest thing she's done in her career. And Spielberg only cast her in this role because he was watching Alias one night and was like, "I need somebody for this scene." And she came in and shot this in a day.
And I've never been a big Jennifer Garner fan ever, but it goes to show, like, if Spielberg's looking at you and you're one of the hottest actresses in Hollywood and you get cast for a 5-minute scene, like, he could have easily cast Garner for Amy Adams' character, right? Like, I don't know if, because she, like, Jennifer Garner, like, has played innocent, younger acting people before. But I just don't think I don't understand why people think Jennifer Garner is.
She's not a very good actress.
She's not great. She's not great. Never been a big fan. But what has aged best is, instead of Leo paying to have sex with Jennifer Garner paying $400 to have sex with Leo.
Yes.
Not knowing too.
Not knowing it. But justice was served, I think, in that instance.
I got another. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it. Final beat.
One of my what's age the worst is I just said, like, banking being this personal thing where you go to the bank and, like, a bank personnel, like, sizes you up, they look you in the eye and they just ask, like, are you a trustworthy person? Like, it just doesn't happen anymore. It's all computers and algorithms now. It's none of that personal banking stuff anymore that you see in the movie.
That's really true.
Yeah. I can't tell you the last time I sat down with, like, just a banker, right?
A bank teller.
Yeah.
Do you never walk into Bank of America and, like, hey, what can you do for me?
Yeah.
Online.
That's a good one.
Here's my PIN number. Give me $200.
My number one, which is the worst, which we skipped over, is just Hanks's accent. It's terrible.
Terrible.
But it, like I said earlier, it does, like, fool me into thinking it's not Hanks most of the movie. So in that respect, I like it. But, like, it is, I don't understand why he could have, like, the real guy that this character is based on is from Boston. We could have just made the guy from anywhere. Like, him being from Boston has no, like, effect on the rest of this movie. No scenes are in Boston where his local knowledge would have come into play. Maybe that would have been something where I'm like, okay, they wanted to do that because, like, they needed to show that he knows this part of Boston like the back of his hand, but, like, he knows New York and Miami better than he knows Boston.
He could have
just, like,
where, like, his backstory, his family story, they don't bring up Boston. They don't say that he had to move because of some unforeseen circumstance of the divorce. They don't address it at all. They just give him this terrible accent that's got to be, like, one of the 5 worst Boston accents.
I wrote down my favorite bad Hanks. Starts off quick early in the movie. I need a doctor. I need a doctor.
I need a doctor.
Knock, knock. A good humor bar. How'd you pass the bar in Louisiana? Your son is forging checks.
Forging.
When he sees the address is the biggest. Like, when he calls his guys after his meeting with Walken, he goes, "It's 415 Landover, Atlanta, Georgia." And then in France, I just want it on a record. He surrendered on his honor card.
Oh,
jeez.
Bad. There really is. There's no reason. It's one thing if it plays in and it's just a bad accent, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of movies that are set in Boston where you have actors playing Bostonians who just don't do the accent, but there's no reason for him to have the accent in the first place.
That's what's so annoying. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you. Mark, do you have any more age the worst?
Yeah. I got 2 others. One, just the idea of just pulling a necklace out and going to a girl and saying, "Did this slip off your neck?" And her being just charmed. I wish that worked. I wish that was the case. It's just not that easy. But everybody
that's a class 3 misdemeanor.
Exactly. Yeah.
I know.
Go to jail for that.
Like, Ellen Pompeo nearly has, like, an orgasm on the plane when he puts it on her neck. She's like, no. And then it goes to her going, yes, 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 which is why they did it. But still, like, it's just a little shitty necklace. Like,
yeah. It's this plastic junk. So that aged terribly.
Oh, further on the women, I just have the mom aged pretty poorly. Like, I don't know if it aged poorly. Or unanswerable. Like, she seems like a pretty terrible person. Like, why doesn't she want a relationship with her son anymore? That's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
She just cares about money and kind of having a nice house, I guess. That's what I got to play from it.
And Frank Barnes really cares about
Jack
Barnes.
Jack Barnes.
Jack Barnes. Sorry, Jack Barnes.
James.
That would have been one too many Franks in the movie.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I had was just, I don't know if this is aged the worst or not. I'm curious what you guys think. I just put down movies that have like closing summaries of what happened later. I feel like you don't see that anymore, or maybe I'm kind of misremembering. I don't know. Like, you know how they get into like what happened later in Frank Abagnale's life.
Well, League of Their Own had it.
Did have it? Okay, maybe it was like
technically The Sandlot has it. They just explain it.
Okay, yeah. Maybe this is an older movie thing. I feel like I don't see those movies today.
It's still all over the place. There's like American Gangster. I'm just thinking of off the top of my head. American Gangster had it. There was one in Blow. Like, and I think any biopic.
Yeah, I think any true story is fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
If it was just like they're telling us facts about somebody who wasn't real, then like no.
The Irishman. There was they had an Irishman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My bad.
I had,
what do you got, Andy?
Sorry, I'll get my last one. Leo he's too young. He looks too young for this part, but it works because he's so freaking charming and good looking. But like, it's funny because in reality, the real Frank was known as someone who resembled an adult by the time he was like 14 and went gray when he was like 18. So that's why he was able to pull off a lot of his stuff. So it's funny that it works with somebody who's like known for even being 50 still looks like he's freaking 25 in real life.
Who could be?
I don't know if that ages the worst. It's just like weird that that's the person who was cast in that role.
Yeah. Do you have casting what ifs for that role? We'll get there, right?
That's next. Yeah. So give me your what's age the worst, because the casting what ifs are amazing.
So so the first one that I wrote down was what's age the worst is just the ability to do this. You're not getting away with any of this today for more than like 10 minutes. Everything is so collated and quantified and instant that none of this is happening in real life. With check fraud, I also had what's age the worst, being a successful doctor by watching one movie, being a successful lawyer by also watching one movie.
Yes, I do love that judge though. Like,
the judge is great.
There's no
what the hell is wrong?
There's no jury. There's no defendant. This is a preliminary. It's just me.
What in the hell is wrong with you, boy?
He was the assistant attorney general in the state of Louisiana.
Oh my God.
So the real Frank Abagnale, when they were talking about making the movie, didn't think that Leo was charming enough to play him. I think that's aged pretty poorly.
Jeez.
The smartest guy it probably has aged the best in movies, but the smartest guy when he's going through all the different zones in the United States and how the first two numbers of the check equal which zone it gets cashed into, the smartest guy in the room being ignored by his dumb coworkers in a Spielberg movie. Like, this happens all the time in Spielberg movies. The smartest guy in the room is always ignored and made fun of. And the last one I had was a large crowded ballroom in New Rochelle, New York. I don't think you're going to find one of those for a while.
No, not anymore. Definitely not.
Not now.
That's a coronavirus hotbed, right?
Yeah. All right. These casting what ifs are incredible. And there's not many of them, but like they're so good. So we'll go with this movie was almost made in 1981 with Dustin Hoffman playing the role of Leo, which he probably would have been pretty good.
Yeah, that's
not bad.
Awesome. The original actor that Spielberg wanted for Frank Jr. was Johnny Depp, which I think would have been much weirder. I don't know. Maybe I'm too jaded on Johnny Depp in 2020 than 2002, but
I'm not a big Johnny Depp fan. I don't know if you guys are, but I only like him in Blow.
I disagree with this. I think Depp would have been awesome.
Better than Leo,
Leo. It would have been a different movie. Would have been a slightly different movie, but this would have been filmed in 2001, and I think so. This was like, what had he just done in 2000? It was like, I think this was the move. It would have been the movie after Blow for him. Like,
yeah.
Blow and wait, hang on. I think I have his IMDb. Yeah, it was like, he did Chocolat, Blow, and From Hell. From Hell's totally underrated, by the way. It's Johnny Depp as an inspector chasing down Jack the Ripper in Britain. It's fantastic. And then in 2003, he did Pirates. So this would have been the year before he started to go off the rails as Jack Sparrow. I think it would have been good. I would have watched that movie.
I agree. I definitely would have watched it. Yeah, that's fair. It's a
But
different
Leo's so much more charming.
Yeah. Don't disagree.
I'll save the big one for last. Ed Harris was originally going to be the Christopher Walken role.
He wouldn't have been bad as Tom Hanks's role. I feel like
he was too gruff. He's too gruff to be the dad.
Yeah, too gruff for the dad for sure. I feel like he would have been better as Hanratty.
And then Chloe Sevigny was going to be the original Amy Adams before Spielberg discovered Amy Adams.
Wow, would have been great.
Who's
but
Chloe
the big
Sevigny?
one.
Sorry, who's
just
Chloe
Google her.
Okay.
Google her. The big one is the original Hanratty was going to be James Gandolfini. But because Leo had to reshoot scenes for Gangs of New York, this movie got delayed 3 months, and then he had to go back to The Sopranos. They had it lined up for him to shoot his scenes when Sopranos was on hiatus. And he had to pull out. And then Spielberg just got Hanks because they're tight. So I don't think he would have done the Boston accent, because I don't ever think he tries to do accents. But I think he would have been pretty freaking awesome in this role.
Do you think the tone of this movie is a lot more serious with Tony or James Gandolfini doing it?
No.
You think he could keep it lighthearted like Hanks does?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've seen him in lighthearted stuff. Yeah.
This might be the only movie that Tom Hanks has ever been in where I'm like, this movie is better with someone other than Tom Hanks in his role. I think Gandolfini would have been incredible. I think it would have been whatever accent he put on, if he put one on at all, would have been perfect. Like he can pull off like a kind of washed up, never really made it, divorced FBI agent chasing after and developing a friendship with this guy. I'd watch the Gandolfini Depp version of this movie. It's been really good. Maybe at that point, Dustin Hoffman makes a reprise as the father.
He would have been good.
That's a good call. Yeah, that's a good call. Good call. Those are good casting lists.
What else do I have? Half-assed into research. I've touched on a lot of it. I mostly just did it on what's real and what's not. This is based on a book the screenwriters adapted, and the real Frank said that 80% of the book was true. So you got to figure that maybe the movie's only like 65% true.
Also, remember the book was written by one of the most famous con men in history, so let's take that with a grain of salt.
Yes. Real life, the dad was actually a straight shooter. Also, I know we've talked about the divorce stuff, but his dad was like a stand-up citizen in New Rochelle, and actually he was his first victim. So he got his son a credit card that could only be used at a gas station, and he would use that to buy, in quotation marks, tires, batteries, and other stuff, and then ask the attendants to give him cash for those things in return.
Oh, that's cool.
So he ran up like $3,500 on that, on his dad, which is like $30,000 today.
It's a cool fact. It's a cool fact, not cool that he ran up his dad's card.
Yes. And then real life capture wasn't as dramatic. Somebody saw him on a wanted poster, and he got arrested buying groceries in Montreal. And then
my picking nits was, where are all of the wanted posters in all of the banks for this guy?
Yeah. One trick that was not in the movie, which was pretty cool that he did, he said he noticed the location where airlines and car rentals would drop off their daily collections of money and put them in a like drop box at the airport.
Yeah.
For someone to come collect from the company. So he just got a security guard disguise, put a sign on the drop box that said, "Out of order, place deposits with security guard on duty," which was him. And they were just giving him cash. And he even said, "I can't believe this worked. How could a drop box be out of service?"
I feel like this was the golden age of con men, though, because everyone trusted everybody.
Yeah, they really did.
Like, here, you want to watch my kid for 4 hours? I've got to go down to do something. Yeah, sure, I'll watch your kid.
He never actually flew on Pan Am flights. He just used them for the free hotels and the checks. But you could deadhead back then on other airlines. So that's how he wouldn't get caught. And that's how he knew he would never be asked to fly the plane. Because he did not want to fly the plane. He said only once did I ever take the reins, and it was when the plane was on autopilot and the guy had to go to the bathroom. But for the most part, he could just deadhead on like TWA or any of the other airlines. As long as you had the pilot uniform on, you could jump other airlines.
Would be interesting to know if there was some sort of altruistic motivation there. Like, I didn't trust myself flying a plane of 200 people, or if it was just like, I'm afraid to die myself.
No, that was the quote. He said that I didn't never wanted to take the fate of like 100 to 200 people in my hands. I didn't think that was fair. So, the doctor and lawyer stories are mostly true, but they weren't related like they are in the movie. Like that, there was no Amy Adams connection to both jobs.
I read that he failed the bar exam like 2 or 3 times.
Yes,
finally passed or something.
Yeah. The plane escape was real. I don't know if that's how he did it, but apparently he escaped while it was taxiing. He also escaped from his prison in Atlanta at one point and almost made his way to Brazil before getting caught. And the scheme was too long for me to write down, but it's on Wikipedia and it's pretty crazy.
The idea that like every situation he's in, he's thinking of how he's going to get out of it. Can you imagine how much mental energy that takes? Every time you're in any building, any meeting, any scenario, you've got to be thinking of how, like, where the exits are. What's your lie to get out of this?
Yeah.
Or it just comes naturally to him.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't take a lot of, mental energy.
I don't see this guy giving a presentation and writing down all his notes.
I actually watched he gave a TED Talk at Google like 3 years ago. I actually watched the video. It's pretty interesting. He's like very eloquent, and I don't know. It's worth watching.
Yeah, he's a millionaire.
Yeah, exactly. He's just saying the credits.
And one of his 3 sons actually works for the FBI to this day. It's pretty cool. Very
cool.
That's my only half-assed internet research. The only other thing I had was the house at the end where he gets arrested is the same house from Father of the Bride, but that only matters to Jenna, I think, and her dad.
I love that. I love that. Franz, what is Martin Short's character? Franz in that?
Yes. Did you guys find any other things else? I didn't find there was anything else worth researching, to be honest.
I have nothing else that we already touched on.
No, we've talked about most things.
Yeah. The That Guy Award. This was hard. I think it's Chris Ellis who plays Tom Hanks's boss. He's like Hanks's like crony, kind of like Sandler has all his cronies in his movie, but he's always in everything. Like Hanks is in, even if it's really small. Like he's the original manager of the band in That Thing You Do. That's what I associate him mostly with.
Yep.
But I never knew.
I had him for Dion Waiters too, because he's only on screen for like 5 minutes, but he crushes it. He's the one making fun of Hanks for knowing all the stuff about bank fraud, even though that guy is in charge of the FBI's bank fraud division.
He's like, I have
Yes.
my wife balance my checkbook, right?
Yeah,
That's
like
that guy. Yeah.
this is your
Yeah.
job, dude.
I had Brian Howell, who plays the other cop.
Earl Amdursky. Yeah. But what's he in?
He's in Pursuit of Happiness. I don't know if you remember that movie. Like he's prominently in
he's
that
the-
movie.
Yeah,
Oh.
you're right.
He like gets Will Smith hired in the Pursuit of Happiness. He's also in the Majestic in like a more minor part with Jim Carrey. I don't know. This category was hard too. I agree. He's
Yeah.
also a poor man's older Stillwell. I thought he looked kind of like older Stillwell.
He's got a very round face.
I had a bunch of that guys. I thought this was a pretty that guy heavy movie. I
Let's
had
hear him.
James Brolin as Jack Barnes. He's in a ton of stuff.
Yeah, but he's not that guy. He's a famous actor.
He's old school for me too. But
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
okay.
Fine. All right. Caitlin Doubleday as Joanna.
What's she in?
She's been in a ton since she was on I think she was in Waiting. She shows up as she's that girl. Like she shows up as
Yeah,
the
that's a
hot
good one.
blonde girl in a bunch of stuff, but she's never really been big in anything. Steve Whitting, the bank manager who tells him that checks can be cashed at the airport. He's in Wolf of Wall Street, Shutter Island. He's in a lot of Scorsese movies, and Wolf, Shutter Island, The Irishman. He's in
so he's Leo's guy.
Dave.
Yeah.
I thought that he was also the CIA analyst in Mission Impossible that they poison, but that's a totally different guy that looks exactly like Steve Whitting. So
That's a good one.
That guy has got a that guy face. John Frank Hughes, Mr. Fox, is also in The Departed. I had Chris Ellis. I had Jeremy Howard, the tall, awkward guy in the diner, who tells
Barry Allen.
Carl
Barry Allen.
that it's based off a comic book character. He's in a bunch of stuff as like a really awkward guy.
Oh yeah.
I had one of the fembots from Austin Powers was in there somewhere.
That's amazing.
And Frank Abagnale Jr. actually makes an appearance in the movie. He's the French policeman that arrests Frank at the beginning of the movie.
Yes.
Those are good. Those are all really good.
Overacting award. I just had Hank's accent as I don't really think anyone overdid it at any point, personally. Maybe Ellen Pompeo when she gets the necklace, but
I had her for that scene.
It's Ellen Pompeo.
Okay.
It's
No.
she's like 7 words. No. Yes. And then stupid laugh like
Why are you stopping?
It's so bad.
Okay, that's a good one.
That's
a good one.
I also had the real substitute teacher in the French
Oh,
class.
yes.
They made me drive all the way down from Dixon. They respectfully.
Roberta.
Yeah. I always sub for Roberta. I'm never coming back here again, ever.
Oh, she was so mad.
That's a good one.
I also like an honorable mention was Elizabeth Banks. She's really, really going for it.
And she has a laugh too that's kind of overdone.
Yeah. Like she's just did 40-Year-Old Virgin come out after or before this movie? Because she's playing the same character.
She is. I think it is after.
I think it's after, yeah. Yeah, those are good.
She's playing the 1960s version
Pompeo
of that character.
Pompeo with an honorable mention to the substitute teacher.
Yes. Heat check. For me, it's all on one family. It's either Marty Sheen or Amy Adams for me. I just think Sheen is like such a strong presence. And Leo kind of meets his match for the first time. He's the first time he's really nervous. He's never nervous with Carl. He's just fucking with him the whole time. But he's like you said, it's the first time there's tension in the movie, and he's just and Spielberg said he wanted someone who was kind of famous and gonna have a super strong on-screen presence because that's what he wanted for that father role. And he's just awesome. And he's only in the movie for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Can't argue.
Yeah. I had Shane as well. I totally agree. He's in it for like maybe 10 minutes, right? If that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It's really quick, but he brings it.
Honorable
And
mention
Adams,
to the theme
Adams,
song.
you just see the you can see like it's a rookie
It's an
card.
emotional
Like,
roller
you're
coaster,
you're
yeah.
buying stock like in that card
Yeah.
for what's to come.
I had honorable mention to the theme song. I feel like the theme song's its own character in and of
Oh,
itself.
for Heat Check, yeah.
It's only on.
I
It's
like
right
that.
there for like 4 or 5 times in the movie, and it brings it.
Yes.
I like that.
Picking nits. It's hard to pick nits for me because I don't know what's true and what's not. I guess we just have to pick nits within the movie. Like, took them way too long to get his picture to even realize what he looked like. But maybe that's the way things were back then when you run away from home when you're 16 years old.
I kind of get that. I was fine with that.
And I just wanted to know more about his relationship with his mom. Like, maybe they cut that out. Like, did he ever try and write her? Did she ever try and write him? Like, he clearly knows where she lives.
He wants the family to get better, but he wants the family to get better by going through his father rather than his mother. Like,
Yeah.
the family is important, and being a family is important, but I think like the actual relationships don't matter as much to him. It's this idea, because he loses it when he lets go of his old family when he sees this idea of this new family that he's in. And like, as a kid and like a child of divorce, if someone fucks up and cheats, like that person immediately goes like on your dunzo list, right? Like, doesn't need to have a relationship anymore, but the family's important too.
Yeah. But like, yeah, we could pick nits on how stupid law enforcement is till the cows come home. I just don't know if we want to.
The bank fraud division of the FBI in this period of time is, I mean, they address it in the car though. Hanks is like, I wanted a team. They gave me like the bottom of the barrel of these idiots who all got kicked off other units.
And that's what makes it seem like what he's getting away with so realistic. Because like no one's even looking for this stuff back then. No one even cares. They're like, oh, the bank's lost a couple $100,000. Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, which makes Frank look even smarter because he found this loophole, or like he found this industry that is just not monitored whatsoever and completely takes advantage of it.
Well, here's a question that just came to mind right now: is like, how new or like recent is like checks and check fraud? Was that just kind of just started in the 1950s, 60s? Like, I don't know when checks became a thing. I imagine it's pretty recent, actually. So maybe it is kind of like a innovative kind of space where they don't know like how this would actually be fraud. I don't know.
One from what we've already talked about, it sounds like Frank Abagnale was kind of the godfather, the first person ever to do this, right? Because he became involved in helping the FBI track all this stuff and invented, designs and systems that would prevent this from happening in the future. So probably one of the first people to ever do it.
So to you and me in 2020, it looks like these people are so dumb, but maybe back then they were, I don't know, not as dumb. Like, this is just.
Well, no, they are
space.
dumb, but they're supposed to be dumb.
I know, but I'm just saying. But still, it's just a little bit more nuanced than that, I think.
Yeah, which makes picking the nit on it not as fun. They're not supposed to be good at their jobs.
Yeah.
I was thinking of asking the question, what system do we have now that you guys feel like you could defraud easily, and how would you do it? But that's
I did have one picking it was, it's got to be a pretty damn big mouse to churn that cream into butter.
That's good. It's got to be a big cup too. I mean, if he's getting drowned in there for the first mouse.
Yeah. That's that one New York subway rat that carried that whole piece of pizza.
Yes.
Oh God. That's good.
I get that he's still like a burgeoning criminal, but why First of all, how did the high school not know that this guy was teaching the class for an entire week before they found out? And why, out of all the things that you could do in a French class for a field trip, would you pick a bread factory in Trenton as your field trip?
Because he's a dumb kid. Wouldn't you want to go get some French bread baguettes when you were?
Yeah, absolutely.
Trenton was big back then. Don't think Trenton used to be like a huge big time city.
Okay, all right. I'm very new to New York.
Like when you roll through Trenton, they have that bridge says what Trenton makes the world takes. Like it used to be a huge hub of production. That's why it's the capital of New Jersey. And then it just like flipped to becoming a giant shithole in the 80s and never recovered.
They stopped making French bread. Is that what happened? Shouldn't have stopped.
Any nits?
Now they make you pay a toll for leaving, but don't charge you for going in.
Yes. Do you have other nits, Andy?
Yeah. How did the Rotary Club not notice that Frank's been basically defrauding the IRS for 40 years when they made him a lifetime member? Like, I don't know what the fuck the Rotary Club is supposed to do, but I think it has something to do with like ethicality and sound business practice. How is this guy getting the lifetime achievement?
Yeah. That's a good call. That's a good call.
The people in his own town won't even give him a loan.
That's good.
That's good. That's good.
Mark, any nits?
Yeah, I have. So one, Martin Sheen as Roger Strong has this, this wonderful house. He throws this big engagement party. He's hosting hundreds of people. And then when that KELLY song comes on, the four of them have to squeeze together on this little couch. You're telling me they don't have this big couch or like an L couch where people can spread out and kind of enjoy Mitch on TV?
Wow. That's
Nitpick.
A good call.
Nitpick.
Yeah, it's good. I like that. It's close. It's like family closeness by way of proximity. But it's a good. I also think like Amy Adams is sitting on Martin Sheen's lap in a way that I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's a little much.
I also didn't realize like how like physically small Amy Adams is, because she's like, there's a point where she's curled up in Leo's arms and just looks like
she's tiny.
Yeah, she's tiny.
Yeah.
A lot of Tom Hanks camera work going on with her on better roles. Not so Tom Cruise.
She was born in 1974, so she wasn't as young as I thought she was.
She's Leo's age.
Yeah, she was born 28. Wow. She looks like a freaking kid, a baby in this movie. Wow.
She does. I had other little nitpicks, but they're probably not even worth bringing up. So, Andy, I don't know if you have any other ones.
Nitpicks? No. I got unanswerable questions, but no more nitpicks.
Okay.
It's pretty tight. The movie's pretty tight.
It's tight. Yeah.
It's Spielberg, so you're not going to find a whole lot of holes like you would in a fucking McTiernan movie. But
yes.
There's not a whole lot here. Everything's pretty well explained. There's things that are left unexplained, but I think for a reason, because the movie's already 2.5 hours long. It's good.
All right, so start us off with an unanswerable.
How upset is Joanna, the blonde girl from the note, that she's now got to go to junior prom with that fat, dumb Brad who can't speak French now that Leo lives in Manhattan?
Devastated.
Very. Yeah.
What the fuck is that auction where they're selling the printing?
The Micker print?
Yeah.
What else are they selling at that auction?
Yeah.
And why is no one monitoring?
I feel like auctions, even today, like, it's weird. It's just like this weird, shady space where it's like unregulated. I don't know what's going on.
That's good. I would have loved to have seen like them do like it would have been extraneous, like a couple other items just to pan to before they announced that one.
Yeah, that'd been nice.
Teddy Roosevelt's golf clubs.
I had did Frank pass the bar exam without cheating? And I guess we kind of know the answer now, but he did, right? I guess he did.
Yeah.
Took it. Studied for 2 weeks and took it. This is a serious one. When Carl confronts Frank Sr. in the apartment for the first time, Frank Sr. thinks that Carl's there to arrest him. Right? He says,
yes.
If you're going to arrest me, I'd like to put on a different suit.
Yeah.
So is that him saying, let me go into the other room while you're looking the other way so I can escape out the window? Or is he actually going, like, is he accepting his fate in that moment? Like,
that's phenomenal. That's a great question. That's a great question.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know what Frank Sr. is thinking ever.
On top of that, I had his death, like Hanratty says he fell down some stairs at Grand Central and broke his neck. Like, or did he get taken out by some people he might have owed money to? As then he didn't want to say. I don't know. It just seemed like a pretty weird way, like, for someone to go.
Fair.
That's good. Those are good questions.
I had just how many total does he go through before he gets to Amy Adams?
One, I think it's a little weird that he ends up falling for Amy Adams. I know she has braces, so she looks his age, and that's kind of the thing. But you see him at that Atlanta house that he owns, and there's just bombshells, throughout the house. He's giving them kisses on the cheeks. He's dancing with them.
This is Italian knit.
It's just a shirt.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's a good question though. I don't know.
My unanswerable was, how is he? You would have to assume that Ellen Pompeo is the first girl that he's had sex with, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. He says this is the best night of my life.
Is he? And Ellen Pompeo, assumingly, is experienced. Is this the DiCaprio factor? Like, nobody's this good on their first go around.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Well, he had already been.
I really appreciate the collective silence.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. Like, he was already spending some time in hotels before he went to the airport for the first time, so maybe he already gotten a taste of it, but we never saw it.
It seems
I
like
don't think he says it's the best date I've ever been on if it's not.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
I agree.
Which it's probably not that good, which gives even more support for Ellen Pompeo being the overacting award.
Yeah, she's just faking it because
the necklace perfect
for it.
She was just that thankful to get that shitty little necklace.
Perfect.
Similar unanswerable. What exactly went down with Jennifer Garner for $1,000? What's the whole night really? Couple hours?
I mean,
like
Jennifer, this is a PG.
Pretty boring.
This is a PG podcast.
Not much. Definitely less than what happened with Elizabeth Banks.
Yeah. Yes. At the time of this happening, though, between the four of them, Garner, Banks, Adams, Pompeo, who are you like buying the most stock in at the moment?
Hard to put myself back there. I feel like
I know.
I feel like Banks would have won, but I don't know. It's so hard to remember where.
Mark, I think you're answering the question of who you would want to sleep with the most.
No, I'm trying to answer.
In their career?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, back in the moment, like because Brenda in the movie, she comes across as this like kind of klutzy, immature. It's kind of hard to see the potential. I think if this is your first time seeing Amy Adams in a movie. Jennifer Garner, like you said, I don't think she's anything special. But
I mean, hindsight's 2020, right? Like you're probably you're probably putting your stock in Garner just because she's got more of a. It's not complex at all, but she's playing a more mysterious character, and she's hiding behind a veil of mystery. So like you probably put your stock in her, but there's a look right before they make out in the doctor's office. There's a look that Amy Adams gives where you're like, whoa, there's something more than just an innocent girl. Like this, she's got it.
Yeah, pretty impressive Spielberg casting overall, though, in that regard. Like rarely do like the bit parts like all turn out to be like monster producers, TV movie actors.
It's also crazy that in a completely male, I don't know, you couldn't have done this on purpose because you're just casting a movie. But in a movie that's completely male dominated, that has so many more male than female characters, all of the women that he cast came out something bigger than what they started. And none of, outside of Hanks and Leo, none of the other guys that he cast became something huge. There's no like side characters that had an arc like any cast in this movie.
Yeah, that brings me to my unanswerable. I'm not quite sure the right way to phrase this, but who do you guys think is the? I don't know if it's bigger star in their prime or just bigger star in general. Tom Hanks or Leonardo DiCaprio. And I know Leo's career is kind of still ongoing. Andy's got some issues with this. I think that's an interesting question, though. Don't you think? In some respects.
No, it's like the question. It's like the biggest Hollywood star of the last 30 years.
Yeah. I don't know who would win. I honestly don't. They're just different.
You've got these two guys, and then you've got who else is in the. I think the question is there anyone else? I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis maybe, but he
doesn't make enough movies. Yeah.
But like you've got these two guys. It's like the question isn't who's better because I think it's apples to oranges. They play two different roles always. The question is there a third person even in the conversation?
That's a good question.
Well, I do think that Leo is much more selective and only makes like one movie every 2 years, 2 to 3 years.
Isn't that Hanks does too?
No, Hanks cranks them out, man.
Yeah,
still is. Leo doesn't do the movies as much as Hanks does that are like everyman movies, right? Leo, this is one of the few roles that Leo does where he's like relatable. And he's even not relatable because he's so pulling this whole scheme off. But like, he's generally not. You generally don't identify with his character as like I am someone who is like this person. Whereas Hanks is like he's Mr. America. Like everybody can put themselves in Hanks' shoes because he's not like super good looking. He's just like super down to earth and charming, and that's he's like that in real life. They're hard careers to compare. Like Leo's very decisive about what roles he takes now, and he only takes roles with like certain directors, like generally Scorsese or Inarritu, and he knows he generally only taking roles that are going to get him nominated for Oscars. Where I think Hanks is still taking roles that are like going to make people smile. I don't know.
But what about when Hanks was DiCaprio's age? Do you think he had the same? Like, was he just cranking out movies, or was he a little bit more selective? Like, I don't really know.
Yeah, Leo's still making like 1 or 2 a year.
Yeah. So Mike said, yeah.
He just never makes comedies. I guess that this is like the closest he's ever come to like a funny movie.
Oh, Once Upon a Time.
Wolf of Wall Street. I think Wolf of Wall Street's one of the funniest movies.
Yeah, that's
all right. Comedies.
They're not. Yeah, you're right. It's kind of ancillary.
Well, and like I think the real ReWatchables guys talked about this too. Are like Leo can get away with a lot more because if Hanks was playing this evil person all the time, who has like all of these sinister intentions, he doesn't have the looks to pull it off by being charming. Like, it would be like, remember when Robin Williams did that movie where, what was it called? Not 8 mm. It was the movie where he was
with Al Pacino?
Insomnia?
film.
Yeah.
He was like the film developer, but also a serial.
1 hour photo.
1 hour
Oh,
photo.
yeah.
Yeah, that one. Like that would be like Leo goes to those depths in all of his roles. Like he's he can get away with being an asshole and being this dark guy because he's so good looking and can pull it off. Hanks, if he's behaving in this way, you get a different vibe from him because he looks like anybody. He looks like an average person.
He's the everyday guy. Yeah.
I think Hanks is still my number one. Leo, but let's see what Leo. Give him another.
Yeah,
20 years
Leo's
of
got.
work.
Yeah.
I would like to see. I'm interested in what Leo will do in like once he starts taking roles that are more age appropriate. I guess.
Yeah.
I guess Hanks is still in his 60s and sometimes playing guys in his 40s though too. So.
But Leo's in his 50s and playing guys in his 20s.
I know.
Wait, Leo's in his 50s?
Leo's now.
Shut up.
No, he's 46. No.
Okay.
Yeah, he's 46. He's 46.
Okay.
47.
Okay.
So,
Looks great.
But he's yet to play someone who's 46. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Good call.
I don't have any other unanswerables. Oh yeah. Let's say you guys like hold off the check scheme. Like, what are you doing? Where are you going as a pilot? And where's your base?
I feel like this is very answerable.
So do I have to be on the run? Is that what's presumed?
No, let's say you're early. Like, he's early. He somehow like chooses that like little area where he has all those people partying with him. It seems like that's his initial like this is my fun
Outside
base,
of Atlanta?
my fun place. Yeah.
I'm not
So,
going
like-
to Atlanta.
No. Who the hell goes to Atlanta? I just wouldn't work. It'd just be nice not to work.
Yeah,
I'm happy to be wherever you want me to be. I just don't want to work.
I think Mark and I have the exact same retirement plan.
Do nothing.
God. Yeah.
We've been doing stuff for a long time. Now we don't want to do anything.
Okay.
I think Southeast Asia would be my spot.
I like to go there.
I'd probably be in Italy or something like that. Seems like you can get away with a lot of fraud there, and no one will care.
Yeah. And if that doesn't work, you can definitely just take a puddle jumper to Greece, where you can get anything.
Yeah. Jumper. Best quote. To mice. Knock knock. The rest of us are really the suckers. Why didn't I just concur? Hello, Pushy. I love when he's trying to imitate James Bond.
Good.
James Bond.
So his Bond impression for 2 words is incredible.
What in the hell is wrong with you, boy? Which I do quote a lot, I feel like. And then sometimes it's easier living the lie. And I do like people only know what you tell them, Carl. It's a good one.
All good.
I love those.
Knock knock, go fuck yourselves is amazing.
Yeah.
Would have loved to have heard that delivered by Gandolfini.
Yeah.
That's a great point. I do love this. Like the second time he tells that they cut away after he says knock knock. I think it's a nice touch.
I think it would have been better if they left it in. If he told
well, I think this was PG-13, so I think.
Oh, they only got one fuck.
Yeah.
It is PG-13.
Yeah.
Which I never understood that. If you're gonna say the word to a kid, like who doesn't know what the word means, one is all you need from like, hey mom, what does fuck mean? And then the parents have the next 5 minutes to come up with a good answer. Otherwise, they're done.
The TV edited version, which I've watched this movie a lot with commercials.
Oh yeah.
Go find yourselves, which just is terrible.
Do you see what happens when you find a stranger in?
Yeah. Why didn't I concur is the sneaky underrated one for me because I love being like,
I love
do you
that.
concur? Do you concur?
Why did that occur?
And there's like two doofuses in the emergency room. They're like, why not concur? Just the southern accent. It's great.
It's good.
I think like random one, like maybe like once a year, I'll just text Mark, how the hell did you pass the bar in Louisiana? It's said like, I think it's the most said line in the movie. I think he says it like 5 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark, what'd you have?
I had one periphery quote to add, which is, I think Tom Hanks is like, I feel like he's eating something. Maybe he's eating an ice cream cone during the scene. He's like, she thinks he's Connors. He loses the name. He loses the girl. I just love that. It's so stupid. But like, I don't know. I always crack up. He says that. And then the Czech guys, I wrote it down. It was printed on a monster, a Heidelberg, maybe an Instra, a dinosaur, full color. I just love that. That scene is just those old guys, just experts in paperweight and just ink.
Yeah.
It's all the terms you just don't hear.
The casting on those guys is incredible.
Is Abagnale the only consultant that they used on the movie? Is he the one that's supplying all this knowledge to everybody?
He's not even used that much in the movie. He said he never even talked to Spielberg once.
So Spielberg's doing all this research on his own,
and it's based on the book.
And right.
But they had to do this stuff on the Czechs, I'm sure, on their own.
Yeah.
I just love that terminology. You just don't hear it anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Ink weight and shit.
And
like
just
that.
the way they that Spielberg gets like the fake like sounds of the bad Czechs. Like I love that sound, like
it is great.
That like heady like
yeah.
So soothing.
They're really cool moments too. Speaking of like cool things that Spielberg did right or did interestingly, like there's a couple of moments at the end of the movie where he's in the Czech factory in France and the machine stops and the Czechs fly everywhere and there's paper piling up all around him and he's in this manic state of loving what he's doing. And then there's another scene like 10 minutes after that where he's working for the FBI where paper is piling up on his desk in almost the exact same way. There's just stacks of paper around him, but instead of it being it's more of a prison at that point because they've also got this shadow of the blinds coming in.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that
on his face, and it's really cool in showing how even though he thinks like he's in this manic stage when these checks are piling up around him, he thinks he's free. He's actually just like digging himself deeper into this prison that he's built for himself.
Yeah,
and he finally catches up with him when he's actually in this metaphorical prison getting paper stacked around him.
I love that happy manic Leo too, where he's like, Carl, Merry Christmas.
He's truly lost his mind. I also, for best quote, I had, Mike, do you have more?
No.
I had Carl's, I can't stop. It's my job.
Yeah.
That's really good. And Dear Dad, you always told me that an honest man has nothing to fear, so I'm trying my best not to be afraid. It's
trying his best.
It's right when he makes his first couple cons. Yeah. And it's so layered. Like it's there's meanings of like I'm no longer a boy, I'm a man. Like a man has nothing to be afraid, or an honest man has nothing to fear. Not being afraid either because he ran away or because he's already kind of struggling with the fact that he's not an honest man and how he's reconciling that, like trying to tell himself that he is honest, but while being dishonest. It's really multi-layered, and I like that one.
That's a good one. I also wrote down, "You're not a Lutheran."
Nice.
It's a classic. Apex Mountain. It's tough. I don't know.
I had nobody,
anybody's.
but when you brought up Garner, I guess
Right back.
Yeah, I literally had nobody.
I wrote down con artists just because like.
Is it?
I mean, he's the, but it's not. It's like the check con Apex Mountain, I guess.
Bank fraud.
I wrote down the
Apex
bank fraud division of the FBI too, because like no one's ever making a movie about the bank fraud division of the FBI ever again,
so, yeah.
or a TV show. It's got to be the most boring fucking division of all time, especially now. It's just like computer bots trolling for like online bank crimes and credit card fraud.
Yeah, totally.
Pan Am Airways.
Oh, that's a
doesn't
good
even
call.
exist
That's
anymore.
a really good call. That's perfect. Pan Am, definitely Apex Mountain, for sure.
Stewardesses.
Yeah, Pan Am, everything
1960s?
related to Pan Am, pilots, stewardesses, the airline itself.
That's a great call.
I might
think
put
of that.
the actual 60s and 70s out for Pan Am, but this was definitely its movie Apex Mountain.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's time period. I had nothing.
Walken's tough.
What do you mean?
Oh,
like for me personally, it's his Apex Mountain.
Is it really?
It's
I
the
didn't
favorite.
Look at his IMDb.
The favorite thing that he's in for me, other than like, and then like Wedding Crashers and like SNL are the only two things that come. Like if you say to me Christopher Walken, I'm saying Two Mice, Gold Diapers, and
Where's Sack?
Where's Sack? Those are the three lines.
Yeah,
we'll sail without him.
Where's Sack?
Yeah, so he did Wedding Crashers 2005. This is 2003 or 2002. This is about it. And Man on Fire in between, which I also love him in.
Oh, he's great in that too. This is like the second stage of his career. So he would like, you're right.
Yeah.
He was like a lead. He was a leading man.
It's Apex Mountain for our generation for Walken. I feel like.
Yeah, like he had a whole career before we even knew who he was.
Before we were alive, he was nominated for an Oscar.
Right.
So.
And
I think it was around this time he did that music video that I sent you. Isn't that it's like a cake song, I think?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that was okay.
This is the most layered we've seen Walken.
Yeah.
Yeah, just his range, he's captivating, he's funny in this movie. Like he's got everything.
Yeah. I had Apex Mountain for opening title sequences.
Oh.
Is this one of the best
It's
ones?
long.
So, but I don't know if you look closely next time you watch it, it like tells the story of the entire movie.
I know. It was
like, I didn't know that.
I think it was created by two French artists. At least the animation was. And almost everything that happens in the movie is in the opening title sequence, and it's the Williams introductory score.
Yeah.
It's one of the best ones. It pulled me in immediately. I almost would put that up for most rewatchable scene.
I love that. I got to watch that.
It's really cool. It's very Mad Men-y too.
Yeah.
It like sets you in the mode for like what time period you're going to be in like right away, which I like.
Yeah.
We throwing John Williams in here, or is it not even close?
Not even close. No.
What do we think his is?
I mean, Star Wars.
Out of the 38 Oscar nominations.
I'm not prepared to answer that.
I don't think you're beating Star Wars.
Yeah, it's true.
It's pretty good though. It's maybe Apex Mountain for the best 3 notes of John Williams, since Jaws is the best 2 notes.
Minor key.
All right.
Who won the movie?
Everyone who's listening to this all 3 people who listen to this will know exactly how the score goes by the end of the podcast.
Other than John Williams, who won the movie?
I think this is an easy one. What do you guys think?
I think it's Williams, but
I think it's I think it's Leo and the real Frank Abagnale Jr.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. Real Frank Abagnale comes off like this amazing con artist, gets out of prison, millionaire.
That's what's crazy is like he didn't have to do any time for this.
It's
He was
crazy.
a free man by the time he was like 23.
Well, I guess the question is, do you consider working for the FBI for 10 years time or not?
I guess, but
it's not.
What else is he going to do with his life? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I would rather spend time talking to other people about what I was really good at and not being in prison than being in prison.
Yeah.
Anything is better than prison.
And he was supposed to be kept in isolation too.
Right.
Yeah, right. I just love that. I love the scene when he flees and goes to the airport. And then you realize, then you figure out, and I don't know if this is that well done, but then you realize when Hanks turns around and he goes, "Look around. You know how I know we'll be back on Monday? No one's chasing you."
Yeah.
That's a good scene.
And no one cares anymore. So, like, what else is he going to do? No one's looking for him anymore.
I'll let you get on that flight.
I'll let you get on it. Good.
I mean, I agree with you, Mike. Before this conversation, I had Leo as winning the movie. I just think his range in this movie is
it's really good.
Just amazing. He plays a boyish kid. He plays a boyish kid pretending to be a teacher. He plays a serious doctor. He plays an airline pilot with a southern drawl. He plays a regular 20, like just the range of characters he plays in one movie. I think it's pretty incredible. And I feel like this performance of his, like compared to his other movies, kind of gets lost in the shuffle. Like obviously he has phenomenal other movies, but just his performance itself in this movie, I think is pretty impressive.
That's a good point, Mark. Like I think after seeing him in so many other things, we look back on early works and everything that he did, he's playing different people, but he's always incredibly charming, right? And I think you get lost in the idea that it's just so fun to watch him that you forget how much skill it takes to do what he's doing.
Yeah. He's really good at acting.
What does he do after this? What's his next? 2000.
I wanted to go back to the Academy Awards to now see.
Interestingly, he does The Aviator.
Yeah, that's right.
As someone else who flies planes, and then goes right to The Departed, back to all the other people in this movie who were in The Departed.
Yeah. And the fact that he did this and Gangs of New York in the same year are like two completely different roles.
Yeah.
Has Leo reached his apex mountain, you think? Is that already passed? I guess you can only tell after looking at somebody's. I don't know. It's hard to tell.
I don't know.
He won an Oscar, right?
He won for Revenant, which a lot of people don't
I think it's right now. I think we're in it. We're living in it, right?
Yeah, because it's like, how long is it? Is it 10 years? Is it 5 years? Apex?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Outside of Gatsby and J. Edgar, I think everything he's done in the last 10 years has been better than The Revenant.
I agree. I
actually like Gatsby. I don't know why.
It's
not a great movie.
It's a rewatchable.
Like peak of his powers was probably Titanic. There was nobody bigger than him. But now, I mean, I don't know. I think
he couldn't get movies made back then.
Django are his three best performances ever.
Andy, I don't know if you saw the last episode of the Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary. Did you see Leo going up to Michael Jordan after Game 6 against Utah? They feature him in the documentary, like just kind of having a meet and greet with Michael Jordan after the game. Like, it's like young Leo. Like it's
amazing how many celebrities they got onto that documentary to say one thing.
Yeah.
Justin Timberlake's on there. He's got one line.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Bill Clinton is on there. He's got one line, and they title him as former governor of Arkansas.
Well, no, because
and Obama is a former Chicago resident.
Yeah. Oh God.
I was saying Leo, what's aged the worst for The Last Dance was Leo having The Man in the Iron Mask come out in 1998. That movie's terrible.
Yeah. Brutal.
Yeah. He's freaking awesome. He's just the man.
I think he's one of those guys that I don't think is going to, he's going to have I don't know if he's ever going to have a second career because like Mike said earlier, he is so careful about with whom he works and what projects he takes on. He's not going anywhere. He's played old guys before. It didn't go so well in J. Edgar, but he'll figure it out.
I think he'll be a great old guy in movies. Yeah.
What?
Once he makes the switch, I think he'll be a great old guy.
Yeah, for sure.
I just checked out his IMDb. Just it shows like what you're filming now. I guess he's filming a movie with Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro, Killers of the Flower Moon. So, like you said, he clearly does choose who he works with. And
he's gonna be H.H. Holmes in Devil in the White City.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good book.
Amazing. Oh, I realize that.
Yeah. He's playing Theodore Roosevelt in something. Looks like.
Wow.
Also Scorsese. The Scorsese thing might be a little too much because I don't know.
Scorsese's going to use "Give Me Shelter" in the Roosevelt movie.
Like, how old is Scorsese? Was born in 1942. Is he still making movies that we care about? And I would argue no with The Irishman. So I don't know. Wolf of Wall Street came out like 8 years ago at this point. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He's made so many awesome movies. It's just like I'd like to see Leo do some. I'd like to see him work with other directors. It's the same. Every Scorsese movie is the same like formula, right?
Yeah.
You know what you're gonna get. You know it's gonna be good. But like, can we see something else?
Yeah.
I want to see him with Hanks again. Honestly.
Ooh.
Or Sheen again. I want to for him and Sheen.
Maybe there's a Spielberg Hanks DiCaprio movie in the future where they all play old guys.
There you go.
There's no way this is all true. Leo's current in production has him playing Teddy Roosevelt, H.H. Holmes, Ulysses S. Grant, and Leonardo da Vinci.
God.
Do you think Leo's just got a list of famous people that he wants to play like up on a whiteboard in his house somewhere?
He's already been Aviator Howard Hughes, Frank Abagnale. He's been
J. Edgar.
J. Edgar.
Did you see J. Edgar? I didn't see that.
It sucked.
It's really bad.
It's a tough watch. It's hard to get through. It's very boring. I think I just insulted J. Edgar 4 times in a row.
Yeah. I think we tightened up our formula a little bit. 208 right now. It's pretty good.
208. There's not as much. The movie's too tight. There's not as much.
Yeah. I was noticing that as well. I was like, this is just good and like fine, but like, it's not some scenes just like are good and good movie making, and they're not making me laugh, or B, there's nothing to criticize. So.
Right. It's the better movies, there's less to talk about. It's just fun to watch. But yeah, and I normally spend about 25 minutes nitpicking, so that didn't necessarily happen.
Same, yeah.
All right, so next? We're doing The Princess Bride next, I think.
Let's we?
Do it.
Is that confirmed? Oh my God, I'm gonna start right now.
Let's do it. Maybe next weekend. See how things go.
Whenever you want. I'm ready to go immediately.
All right. The teaser's out there for our 14 viewers on YouTube. So there you go. Good night, guys.
Good night, guys.
Good night.